couple in their 90s who fought for their rights was assaulted, causing an uproar online. Recently, a video titled Hangzhou 90s Couple Beaten After Buying Unfinished Building has gained widespread attention. Public records indicate that a couple in their 90s named Liang and Li Jun work in Zhengzhou. In November 2021, they purchased a property in Zhengzhou, Rongchuang for marriage. In the summer of 2022, construction at the Rongchuang city development was halted, leading to an unfinished crisis. The couple couldn't move into their house, and they still had to repay the mortgage. Since then, they embarked on a long journey of fighting for their rights, gaining widespread support from netizens. They have amassed 300,000 followers on Douyin during their rights protection process. On the afternoon of November 15th, Liang and Li Jun went to the Rongchuang city sales office again to seek an explanation. The sales office suddenly turned off the lights, cut off the power, closed the surveillance, and sent 5 or 6 people who assaulted them, resulting in both being hospitalized. The couple also mentioned that after being assaulted, they spent nearly 4,000 yuan in the hospital that afternoon, and the sales department staff did not come forward to cover the medical expenses. Their car, parked outside the sales office, also had its tires maliciously punctured. After the incident was exposed, a large number of netizens expressed anger. However, on the next day, the videos released by the couple were deleted from the platform. Mr. Qin Peng, a senior political and economic analyst, commented that netizens who had been following them for a long time said that the light that once shone in the eyes of this young couple had gradually disappeared. How do you view the home buying experience of this post-90s couple? Are they a microcosm of a certain group? How significant is the life pressure they face? China's tallest building, Shenzhen Hong Kong International Center, becomes the country's largest abandoned construction project with no takers despite 2 bidding attempts. Real estate companies in China are frequently facing financial crises, and the pressure is sweeping through the entire industry. In an attempt to alleviate the financial strain, property developers are actively selling commercial assets. However, liquidating assets is proving to be a challenging task. On November 21st, according to a report by First Financial, it was mentioned that due to stable cash flow and higher valuations in the capital market, holding and operating commercial assets were once considered lucrative for real estate companies. However, with financial pressure engulfing the entire industry, various types of commercial assets are now transitioning from favorites to abandoned children, becoming chips for real estate companies to cash in. According to data from Craigspace Asset Management Monitoring, in October this year, the total listing price of bulk real estate in 32 cities was approximately 1.92 trillion yuan, representing a 25% increase compared to the previous month. The total number of bulk real estate listings increased by 28% month-on-month. Among the bulk asset projects with a single listing amount exceeding 30 million yuan, projects in Beijing, Shenzhen, and Shanghai together accounted for over 70%. However, successfully cashing out is not easy. Some real estate companies, facing a debt crisis, have seen their projects auctioned off, and the auction process has been full of twists and turns. A recent typical case is the Shenzhen Hong Kong International Center. On November 16, the Shenzhen Hong Kong International Center went unsold for the second time. The starting price for this auction was approximately 10.4 billion yuan, a decrease of 2.6 billion yuan from the first auction. If measured against the assessed value of the property, the auction price this time was equivalent to a 36% discount on the asset, but it still went unsold due to no bidders. According to Key's Real Estate Asset Management Monitoring, the total transaction amount of bulk properties in the third quarter of 2023 was 33.1 billion yuan, a year-on-year decrease of 13.1%. The total number of transactions was 60, a year-on-year decrease of 6.25%. Its year-on-year decrease in the transaction amount per deal was 6.4%. Although it showed a slight rebound compared to the second quarter, it still remained at a low level in recent years. Host of Taiwan Television's joint news program, Liu Baoji, stated that China's tallest building is now unsellable at auction. The building in question, the Shenzhen Hong Kong International Conference and Exhibition Center, developed by China's Xi'an Group, has now become China's largest unfinished building. Current affairs commentator Huang Shikong mentioned that this skyscraper, located in the central city of the Greater Bay Area, has excellent positioning. The development includes a startup center, exhibition center, performing arts center, international school, ultra five-star hotel, intelligent office building, large commercial center, and apartments, among others. If completed, the total value would be around 70 billion yuan. However, the company is now unable to proceed, having gone bankrupt. The development project went up for auction, and in the first round, it did not sell. Surprisingly, even in the second round, it still couldn't find a buyer. In the first auction, the price was reduced by 20%, and in the second auction, it was further reduced to 40%, yet there were still no takers. Evergrande's total debt exceeds 10 trillion new Taiwan dollars. The unfinished building effect drags down the Chinese economy. Due to its massive accumulated debt, Evergrande is struggling to meet its financial obligations. The impact of this has spread to other developers who are also defaulting on their debts, leading to numerous unfinished projects nationwide, resulting in an abundance of unfinished buildings. Real footage of Chongking's first ghost city, villas given away, but no one dares to live there. The current situation is distressing. This is undoubtedly the most expensive group of abandoned villas in Chongqing, rightfully called Chongqing's first ghost city. The developers originally intended to create the top gathering area for the wealthiest in Chongqing, with a total of 51 top-notch villas, perched atop the southern hills of Chongqing. The current state of this place is horrifying. Netizens say that given the current conditions, they wouldn't dare to live there even if the villas were given away for free. In Chongqing, there are 100 Chinese-style villas in one apartment complex, and not a single person lives there. The current situation is extremely bleak. The style of these hundreds of villas is identical, and from an aerial perspective, it somewhat resembles a graveyard. I've seen abandoned high-rise buildings and neglected European-style villas, but it's rare to find such a large area of Chinese-style villas, especially built on the mountaintop. We want houses. We want our houses. In Tongchuan, an industrial city in Shanxi, China, dozens of real estate owners gathered last week, chanting slogans like "We want houses." They represent a group of homeowners trapped in unfinished buildings, a situation seen in many parts of the country. One elderly person, in tears, said, "The policies of the Chinese Communist Party are always correct and righteous, but here in Tongchuan, it's so heartbreaking and chilling." Many homeowners have moved into stalled construction sites, protesting through their actions and putting pressure on the authorities. China expert Mr. Yakogawa stated that it is inconceivable for developers who are in a financial deficit to resort to physical violence. In the eyes of a normal society, why would such unimaginable things happen in China? Some netizens revealed that many homeowners of Rongquang's unfinished buildings are hoping that this young couple can successfully defend their rights. After all, the couple is somewhat famous as internet celebrities, and if they succeed, other homeowners will also have hope. Do you expect them to succeed? Noora Securities recently released a report indicating that the area of unfinished pre-sale housing in China is astonishingly large, equivalent to about 20 times that of China's largest private real estate developer, Country Garden. The chief China economist of the institution, Lu Ting, stated, "It is estimated that there are about 20 million unsold pre-sale homes in China, and to complete the construction of these homes would require approximately 3.2 trillion yuan. As China's economy accelerates its decline and issues such as mortgage debts for unfinished buildings and salary cuts worsen, the economic burden on the common people is increasing. At the same time, the Chinese Communist Party quietly stopped inaction, raising questions from the outside. Many mainland netizens recently discovered that the China Enforcement Information Disclosure Network, under the Supreme People's Court of the CCP, has stopped updating the number of dishonest persons. Discipline of Dishonesty column under the Execution in Numbers section of the website shows that as of November 6, the number of publicly announced dishonest persons under enforcement nationwide is close to 8.5 million. After November 6, the number has not been updated. According to observations from mainland media, in the period before the cessation of updates, the number of dishonest persons under enforcement was increasing by more than 2,000 people almost every day, and the growth rate eventually approached nearly 3,000 people per day. Some netizens commented, "It's too much, continuously rising. It will soon break the tens of millions mark." The CCP has chosen to keep it under wraps. China's unfinished building storm. Citizens passively resist by refusing to pay mortgages. The unfinished building storm caused by China's three red lines has not ended, and the financially struggling victims can only resort to passive resistance by refusing to pay mortgages. Their confidence in the Chinese government has also dissipated, posing a significant challenge to Beijing's stability maintenance efforts. Mr. Wang, a victim of unfinished buildings, said, "You have no choice. For us common people with unstable income, there is no money to pay." He also mentioned that he won't believe the government's rhetoric in the future. Mainland China faces mortgage crisis, 150 unfinished projects in 20 provinces. Homeowners accuse banks of illegally lending, providing loans to developers, creating a breeding ground for developers to embezzle funds. These buyers, who have already paid the down payment and, in some cases, haven't finished repaying the mortgage, are unable to move in. Faced with the risk of breach of contract, they are resorting to measures like stopping loan repayments. The estimated amount of loans involved in this situation is around 2 trillion yuan. If the situation worsens, the bank's losses could potentially exceed hundreds of billions of yuan. The real estate market in the long-depressed city of Shenzhen recently implemented two policies to revive the property market. On one hand, adjusting the criteria for designating ordinary housing enjoying preferential policies, lowering the down payment ratio for second homes. Economists suggest that, while these measures may provide a short-term boost to the property market, in the long run, it may still be challenging to reverse weak demand. On Wednesday evening, November 22, the Shenzhen Housing and Construction Bureau issued a notice titled Announcement on Adjusting the Criteria for Identifying Ordinary Housing Enjoying Preferential Policies, declaring the adjustment of standards for ordinary housing. The new policy will take effect from November 23, 2023. The previous criteria were criticized by market experts for luxurifying ordinary housing transactions, not aligning with the actual price levels. Designating residential properties as non-ordinary housing would result in consumers bearing higher taxes. According to calculations by the Shenzhen Joy Home Research Center, for a residential property priced at 7.7 million yuan, which has been owned for 5 years, the value-added tax and additional tax amounted to 381,600 yuan before the policy adjustment, but became zero afterward. In terms of personal income tax, it was 110,100 yuan before the policy adjustment and reduced to 77,000 yuan after the adjustment. Regarding deed tax, it was 220,200 yuan before the policy adjustment and increased to 231,000 yuan after the adjustment. On the same day, according to official media reports, Shenzhen will adjust the minimum down payment ratio for the second home from November 23. The minimum down payment ratio for personal housing loans for second homes, which was originally 70% for ordinary housing and 80% for non-ordinary housing, will be uniformly adjusted to 40%. However, there are different opinions on the actual effects of these two major policies in the market. Apart from heavy promotion by official media as a significant positive, some viewpoints believe that in the short term, the ability to purchase will maintain the heat of the Shenzhen property market for 1 or 2 months, but the long-term effects still need observation. Some industry insiders are not optimistic about the expected policy effect. A real estate professional named Chen, interviewed by Chinese media, stated that favorable measures would stimulate a market rebound, but the effect would not be significant. To boost market confidence, it's not enough to rely solely on lowering the cost of buying a house. The key is to stabilize the economy and employment, making everyone confident in future income growth. This statement hits the nail on the head, highlighting that the upcoming economic crisis in China is the fundamental reason for the downturn in the real estate market.